Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Heritage Committee met on Monday, June 16th at 5 o'clock. The meeting was at Reno, and I had Commissioner Robb run the meeting from Reno since I was remote at my home. And we briefly discussed, we went over the heritage tag vendor premiums. There's a paper in your support material that kind of summarized what we found and what the different groups were charging as far as premiums. And then I'm going to ask Chairman Robb to maybe go over some of those premiums, because I didn't get the notes on. He said some of them had contacted him, or you contacted them about which they were going to charge. And would you mind summarizing that again, if you wouldn't?
What occurred is during our last Heritage Committee meeting, and even prior to that, there was some discussion of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation had a 10% buyer premium when they sold the Nevada Heritage Tag. By the rules and the law of the state of Nevada, we're supposed to get 100% of the proceeds of the auction price. In RMEF's program, we were the only ones that had a premium that we could find. So what they were doing was they found a loophole around so they could still make money selling our tags. We had quite a discussion about that at our Heritage Committee meeting, and at the original committee meeting that we had selecting vendors, we did not select Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation as a potential vendor for the upcoming auction season due to the fact of the set-aside, or the buyer premium, because what was happening is buyers were looking at it. If they had a cap of $100,000 they were going to spend, they could only bid 90, because then it would have been 99,000 after the 10% buyer premium, and I think it was having an impact on our sale price, and it just wasn't in the spirit of what we had intended and what the law had intended. So I made some phone calls to RMEF, and I can tell that we do not have any open meeting law violations, because other commissioners at the same time were making phone calls to the same people I was. So there was no communication between a couple of commissioners, because we were trying to find out the same information. But RMEF, a couple years ago, we are very well aware they charged a 10% buyer premium. It was in question whether they did last year. In speaking to representatives from Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation out of Missoula, Montana, they have changed the way that they're doing their auctions. They used to do it at a Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation National Convention. What they've done is they've decided to take all these premium tags from multiple states, and they have a winter hunter rendezvous in Tucson, Arizona. It's not a big convention like it's normally been sold at. It is specifically catered to selling these bid tags, multiple states bid tags, and it's geared towards high dollar people, and only about 350 people attend. Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation indicated to me that they are not charging the buyers premiums anymore, that their national director and their board of directors decided that these heritage tags, or in other states governor's tags, or whatever you want to call them in other states, were a good deal for wildlife, and they wanted to support that good deal, and they wanted to maximize value of these tags. So they decided to not charge any buyer premiums, not take any of the proceeds, because other states didn't have this same law, so they could have held back 10% or whatever. But they decided not to do that. And in doing that, they indicated to me that they are actually not even breaking even throwing this event, but they recognize the value to the wildlife, and it is worth their dollars to maximize the dollars of these tag sales to help out wildlife in these states. And so with that being said, we had a discussion at the last Heritage Committee meeting, and RMEF came back into the fold. The Washoe County Cab, I was contacted by Chairman, or Member Flowers, used to be Chairman Flowers, and they had indicated that they looked at the Wild Sheep Foundation and they had a 5% buyer premium or 6% buyer premium. I happen to know one of the board of directors on Wild Sheep Foundation, so I called him and asked him, and he had the executive director of Wild Sheep get in touch with me. Wild Sheep is a organization that has their national convention. They have the next 3 years under contract at the Pepper Mill in Reno. Through 2017 they're under contract. So if they're going to sell a tag, they're going to do it within the state of Nevada. They're under contract through 2017 with agreements through 2020. It brings in revenue to the state. They fund projects in the state. And I probably could have made a case that maybe the 5% buyer premium wasn't going to be bad. But I have a commitment and an email from him also that they believe in the Heritage Program, and without a doubt they will not be charging a buyer's premium. The only time any organization that we have contacted will charge a buyer's premium, it will be a 3% premium if the buyer uses a credit card, just so that the nonprofit organization, if they sell a tag for $100,000 and the credit card company charges them $3,000, it doesn't cost that organization that $3,000 to give us the $100,000. They want to be able to break even on that sale. They don't want to have to come up with the additional fees of the credit card. So that's what we found out through our research, and like I said, there was other members of the committee doing the exact same thing I was. So we tried to have it covered. Mr. Wallace?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that was, he covered the premiums, and then we had fiscal year 13 and 14 Heritage Project extensions. There were 10 different projects that we voted to approve the extensions on, and there's a separate agenda item coming up. We can go into more detail on those when we get there. And then there was a possibility to reallocate some of the funds, but then we were determined that we could not reallocate it because we didn't have any projects still available for that fiscal year project, and that money would have to be reallocated to those projects. So we lost, was it $3,194.78 goes back into the Heritage account that we were unable to reallocate. And as far as the 2015 Heritage proposals, we received no input and there was no public comment at the meeting, so we did not change any of the recommendations that we had previously provided.
Right. Any questions from any commissioners? Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 21B, fiscal year 2014, fiscal year 2013 Heritage Project extensions. Patrick?
For the record, Patrick Cates. So in the support material, you have the list of the 10 projects that requested extensions. If you'd like, I could briefly go through those, or the committee did recommend to extend all of those projects. Do you want me to itemize them? Or?
No, if any of the commissioners have any questions on what we extended, but we did take action to extend those projects.
Right. And nothing's changed beyond what was in the support material, so whatever the pleasure of the commission.
Any questions? Okay, this is an action item. Is there any public comment on 21B? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Wallace?
I move to approve the fiscal year 2014-2013 Heritage Project extensions as provided in the support material.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wallace, second by Commissioner Bliss. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Moving on to 21C, fiscal year 2014, fiscal year 2013 Heritage Funding Reallocation.
For the record, Patrick Cates, there is no money available for reallocation. As Commissioner Wallace spoke about, there were 2 projects from fiscal year 12 that had a little bit of money left over, totaling a little over $3,000. The way statute reads, we can't reallocate those funds to any other year's projects. If you reallocate, it's got to be within the same fiscal year set of projects, and there are no other fiscal year 12 projects, so there's no action to be taken on C.
Yes. And what happens with that 3,000? It rolls back into the principal. It cannot be used. We can only use the interest off that. So with that $3,000 going back into the principal, we might get a penny or two off it in interest, the way the interest is running on our account now. So.
Exactly.
All right, we'll move on to 21D, fiscal year 2015 Heritage Projects Proposal. Commissioner Wallace and Deputy Director Kate.
As I spoke before, the proposal that we passed at the previous Heritage Committee, we allocated all of the funding down to an amount of 0. I can go through the list if anyone wants me to. Otherwise, it's in the support material. And we can go project by project, or if anyone has any questions, we can go that direction.
We've had the support material for a while. Does anybody have any questions on a particular project? And we could maybe discuss that. All right, seeing none. Do we have any public comment on the 2015 Heritage Project proposals? Mr. Flowers?
Rex Flowers, first representing Washoe County. We would suggest approving them as they are presented. Secondly, representing myself, on projects 15-08 and 15-17, these are strictly upland game projects, but they're brought forward by private individuals, and I think that's why we see them here as heritage projects. And I would like to see, when we have projects like this in the future, we get these proposals early enough, maybe the department can partner with the private individuals so that we can move these projects, have them presented under upland game stamp money, and then use the heritage money for other projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Bliss?
I'll move to approve the fiscal year 2015 Heritage Project proposals as presented to us today.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bliss, second by Commissioner Wallace. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous. We'll move on to 22, Commission Regulation Adoption Workshop, possible action. Commission Regulation 14-07, Amendment 1, 2015 Heritage Tag Vendors. Mr. Hoyen.
For the record, Bob Hoyen. Commissioner Wallace and Chairman Robb, I believe, effectively stole my thunder on this item. I think you've addressed that pretty well. So the only other thing I have to add to it is, I wasn't here yesterday. I brought a revised CR. You all have it. There's copies up here if folks haven't picked it up. And this revision shows an additional column on the right-hand side reflective of the committee's recommendations for a minor change in the vendor tag selection, and that has to do with the elk tag, one of the 2 elk tags going from NBU Reno to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. So that's the only change that came out of your committee on earlier this week. So I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, any questions from the commission? Seeing none, any public comment or any NGOs that represent the people that have applied for tags? Rex?
Again, Rex Flowers, representing Washoe County. We had supported moving that 1 elk tag back to Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and again, we do not support giving a tag to the Wild Sheep Foundation. I know you've had conversations with them. I'd love to say a handshake is all it takes in this world, but their proposal that came forward specifically said there's a 5% premium on the very first page. We at this time feel that the desert sheep tag one should go to NBU, one should go to Fallon's NBU, one to Reno NBU, I'm sorry, and the California sheep tag should go to NBU Reno. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Wallace?
Move to approve Commission Regulation 1407, Amendment Number 1, 2015 Heritage Tag Vendors, as presented from the change at the Heritage Committee meeting on June 16th.
Second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wallace, second by Commissioner Bliss. Question from Commissioner Drew.
Yeah, just a question on, what was the committee's discussion on the Wild Sheep Foundation and the premium? They are in fact charging a premium?
They will not charge a premium. I have an email that I have forwarded to Patrick, Maureen, Bob, and Mr. Thornton said, you know, I had a good discussion with him, and I think we came to an understanding, and I asked him if he could follow up with an email, and he said it's the potato chip theory that if he gets hit by the potato chip truck, this understanding's still there because I have documentation on it now that it will not be charged without a doubt. And I'm glad to hear that they're going to be holding their convention in Reno through 2020. They have an agreement with Peppermill. They have dates, contract through 2017. And they said that last year's banquet was their highest dollar that they had received from that banquet, and it's growing every year. So it's good for Reno, good for the state of Nevada, and they do get us a fair value for our tag. Mr. Hoyen?
If I could add one more thing, an earlier decision out of this whole process is for future vendor packages, there's going to be a written acknowledgement coming from those vendors as to what they will or will not charge for a premium.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous.
Would you please show me as abstaining on that vote, please?
Oh, okay. That's fine. Okay, so 7 for the vote, 1 abstained, and 1 absent. Okay, we'll move on to 22B, Commission Regulation 14-11, upland game, migratory upland game, and fur bearer seasons and limits. Staff Specialist Sean Espinoza and Russell Wolstingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. Sean Espinoza, for the record, Upland Game Staff Specialist with the Department of Wildlife. And I think I speak on certainly behalf of others when within the department. Certainly we thank you, Jack, and Commissioner Macbeth for your hard work. And I think the state is certainly better for it. I think the best way to handle this, as we have in the past, is just to go through this either by hunt type or species. And I think I'll start off with the youth hunts. We've recommended basically no changes to the youth hunts. There's a 2-day season that we basically have that is the last Saturday and Sunday of September. With a daily bag limit of 6, possession limit of 12 for chucker, daily bag limit of 10, possession limit of 20 for California and Gambel's quail, and then a 2-day season, same time for rabbits as well. I would like to point out, though, in reviewing some of the County Advisory Board material that we did have a recommendation in there for a pygmy rabbit exception that probably should be added within this youth rabbit season. specifically for pygmy rabbits to allow for the take of 2 daily and 4 in possession for pygmy rabbits. So we would basically use the same language in the normal rabbit season and copy it over into the youth rabbit season.
Okay, any questions on that? Let's go to public comments, see if is there any public comment on what Sean Espinoza just went over? Seeing none, do you want to break these down and just take motions as we go, Sean, easier for you? Okay. Commissioner Drew.
I would move to approve that portion of CR 1411 specific to the youth hunts as proposed by the department, with the addition of the pygmy rabbit language that Sean had referenced.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Drew, second by Commissioner McNitch. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous. John?
Thank you. We'll move on to sage grouse. That first season you see there, I know it can seem quite confusing, but it actually is a 2-day season proposed for the Desatoya Mountains in central Nevada. We are proposing to close several units in Elko and Lander County, specifically Unit 076 and 081, which corresponds to our Gollier population up in northeastern Nevada. Unit 068 in Lander County, which is the majority of the Sheep Creek Range, and Unit 152, which is the Shoshone Mountain Range and corresponds to our Shoshone PMU. The season dates for those counties would be from September 25th through October 9th, with a daily bag of 2 and a possession limit of 4. And then we are proposing to close Unit 015 in Washoe County. And you can see the season dates there for Humboldt and Washoe County is actually a shorter season, a 10-day season from September 25th through October 4th with a daily bag limit of 2, possession limit of 4. And for our Sheldon hunt, we're recommending just 1 season this year, as we did last year, with 75 reservations for that particular hunt. Daily bag limit of 2 and possession limit of 4.
Any questions on sage grouse of Sean? Commissioner Drew.
Sean, just a quick question on a couple of these. I see we're ending on October 4th, which is a Saturday. Was that an intentional move to reduce the pressure on that last weekend?
That's correct. Yeah, we're going with 10-day and 15-day seasons, or a 2-day season if the population is small and limited.
Any other questions of Sean? Seeing none, we'll take it out to public comment. Dr. Moldy.
Mr. Chairman, Don Moldy-Reno speaking for myself. I'm encouraged to see the closings of recommended closures of some of these units, because ultimately I think what you're going to wind up doing is closing the whole state to sage grouse hunting. There is no point to it. You don't have to kill the bird to learn about it. The biggest predator in this state on sage grouse in terms of absolute hardcore numbers are humans, killing somewhere around 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,000 birds a year, perfectly healthy birds. And the crazy part of it is that, there's this notion that somehow when hunters kill a sage grouse, it produces more sage grouse because it's compensatory, according to theory. Yet, let one raven take 1 egg out of a sage grouse nest and suddenly chaos theory has been activated. Butterflies flap their wings and the species goes to pot. Nothing could be more silly or less logical than that. So it seems to me that given the priority of this animal in terms of the press and whatnot, the way things are going, to sit here and continue to allow humans to kill a live, healthy adult sage grouse in the face of all of this is simply nonsense. And I will recall for you that my friend Commissioner Vogler, when he was here, spoke on my side of this issue. So I will invoke his name again for whatever it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Mr. Burnside?
Thank you. Craig Burnside, Douglas Cab. Since you're voting on each of these one at a time, at our cab meeting, we unanimously voted to support all of the seasons and quotas with one exception, and I'll get up during that to address that one.
Okay. Any other public comment for cabs? Seeing, oh, come on up, Kevin.
I might as well get my 2 cents in real quick. We're taking these one at a time, but Nye County Advisory Board did vote unanimously to support the whole CR 1-4, whatever we're talking about right now. We voted unanimously to support it as NDOW recommended.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Anybody have anything?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve that portion of CR 14-11, 2014-15, 2015-16 sage grouse seasons as presented by the department.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Macbeth, second by Commissioner Wallace. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous. I'm sorry? You can't hear the far side?
Mike can use a microphone or speak up. They couldn't hear them. They couldn't hear
Okay. All right. Did you get the motion? So we're good on the motion, so, okay. Sean?
I could probably speed up the next few species if you guys would like. We're basically recommending no change to blue and rough grouse seasons, snowcock, chucker and Hungarian partridge, California gambles and mountain quail. They would be basically the same as they have in the past. Our blue grouse season would extend from September 1st through December 31st. Daily bag limit of 3 and possession limit of 6. The snowcock season would extend from September 1st through November 30. Daily bag limit of 2, possession limit of 2. Chucker and Hungarian partridge, daily bag limit of 6, possession limit of 18. And that would extend from the second Saturday in October through the first Sunday in February. California gambles and mountain quail, extending from the second Saturday in October through the last Sunday in February, or the first Sunday in February, excuse me. Daily bag limit of 10, possession limit of 20, except for mountain quail, where we would have 2 daily and 4 in possession. And pheasant would extend statewide from November 1st through November 30th, a daily bag limit of 2, possession limit of 4. And then cottontail, pygmy, and whitetail jackrabbits. The only exception we have there is for pygmy rabbit, where we would have a 2 daily and 4 in possession limit there, second Saturday in October through the end of February.
Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, any public comment? Mr. Reese?
For the record, Mike Reese from Clark County Cab. We had 4 people at our meeting, so the vote went 3-1. We agreed with everything except for in the southern part of the state, we'd like to see the quail and chucker and rabbit open October 1st, regardless of what day October 1st falls in. And we'd like to see that continue, just like the opening day of dove season is, everybody knows, is September 1st, regardless of how it falls. Having it the second weekend in October, you basically have a week, maybe even 10 days of no hunting going on other than muzzle loader. Your dove ends in September 30th, and no hunters are out in the field until the second Saturday, unless they are lucky enough to get a muzzleloader tag. We see it as a stimulation of the economy. A lot of guys want to still go on out and hunt, especially in the southern part of the state. The only three things we really have to hunt is dove, the quail, and your waterfowl. So quail is a big attraction for down there. We'd like to see it open on October 1st. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Macbeth?
Sean, could you comment on the proposal by Clark County?
Well, in terms of a body of literature, there's probably less available for chucker and Gambel's quail than certainly we have for some of our other species. But Randy Larson with BYU and Aaron Robinson did some work on chuckers in western Utah several years ago. And at least for that particular population, they did note that an earlier opening did create some additive mortality at that time of year. And this was a population that basically relied on guzzlers. And so people would drive from guzzler to guzzler and shoot birds. So I think from that perspective, that does create a bit of a concern. And Utah actually did change their chucker seasons to open them later due to that science. So I guess that would be my comment with respect to that.
Any other commission questions or comments? Seeing none, does anybody have a motion?
Move to approve CR 14-11 as presented by the department specific to blue and rough grouse, snowcock, chucker, and Hungarian partridge. I'll just say quail, pheasant, and rabbits.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Drew, second by Commissioner McNinch. Any further discussion? See. Commissioner Macbeth.
Do we need to say something about the pygmy on the rabbits?
I believe, Sean, what you have is already in this one. We just had excluded in the youth.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Okay, now we move on to Russell, or Sean, I'm sorry.
Yep. We're moving on to wild turkey. This upper box with respect to the application procedures for resident and non-resident hunts, there could be an issue with this, and maybe Bob Hoyne can speak to that, but this is with respect to a potential change that Clark County has requested. And we may go through, as we go through this, it might become more clear, but Bob, if you wanted to comment on that real quick.
Bob Hoyne for the record. This actually has to do with the Clark County recommendation, so let me first start by asking Mr. Reese to address his.
Mike Reese, the Clark County Cab. We've discussed this. We had basically a big change for wild turkey just in the Moapa area as far as when the draw would take place, when the announcement of the success of the draw took place, and the starting of the season and the ending of the season. We've talked with Bob, and we're in favor of tabling this until our August so that he can totally understand what would it take with Don Seffens and his crew to see if we can back it up a couple of weeks to have the draw earlier, run the pre-testing that they do and stuff. So I think what we'd like to do is talk and have him give us some information. We agendize it for our CAB meeting in August and bring it back to the state in August.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and to that end, again, it's a new support material that's sitting over here if members of the audience want to see it, and I've passed it out to the commission here. But one of the things that we looked at was how could we come up with a compromise based on the proposed dates from Clark County. So what you have in front of you marked in red was that proposal. However, one thing that we failed to look at, Maureen and I, and maybe I'm speaking for Monty, we didn't recognize also that Clark County had some proposed season date changes, meaning bring them up a little earlier. So our thought was with this proposal, just on the application period, that would work. And let me address this just briefly. These are dates here that are known to the public, what's not necessarily known as some earlier upfront stuff that we do. And what this would end up doing is pushing us into a period. We always test before the opening of the application site. Systems consultant tests, they turn the test system over to us, we do the testing, and that testing would put it somewhat right on top of the Christmas period. And in the short amount of time that we had to look at this, we came up with this proposal. But now, based on their recommendations to change the season dates, we'd like to have a little more time. Mike would like to take this document back to his cab. I'm sure all the other cabs would like to see that. We talked to Sean about delaying this particular decision until the August meeting, and there seems to be no conflict with that.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Thank you, Bob. Sean?
So I'll go ahead and continue, and I think we'll just address the junior wild turkey hunt separately. And basically, the only change that we have recommended there is to add a youth season for the Moapa Valley portion of Clark County. And this would be from the third Saturday in March through the first Sunday in May. And we have a recommended quota of 3 there. The other youth hunts would remain the same, Unit 151 and 152 of Lander County, the Mason Valley Wildlife Management Area, and Unit 115 of White Pine County.
All right. Any questions of Sean? Any public comment? All right. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Drew?
So is there a desire by Clark County to change the youth dates? Because I know you guys had some changes later on.
For the record, Mike Reeves from Clark County Cab. Yes, there was no change as far as when it would start. The change was have it go to the end of the season. We're proposing the end of the season instead of it ending in May, ending around the second, third week of April. And the discussion came up about a heritage tag having the value that it has with it versus a junior tag being more valuable than a heritage. We did talk about having the junior go from the very start of the season all the way through to the end of the third season, if it wasn't successful during, either one of those times.
Any further questions? Anybody have a motion? Commissioner McNinch?
Mr. Chairman, I guess in lieu of that, it doesn't sound like the department's too concerned about holding it off. So with regards to the wild turkey, the 2015-2016 application procedures, resident and non-resident hunts for the wild turkey, I would move that we delay that decision until the next commission meeting.
You second that, Commissioner Bliss? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 All opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Sean?
For the rest of our limited entry wild turkey hunts, we basically have no changes until we get to Moapa Valley. And I know that came up as an emergency regulation change, but we basically changed that unit description to simply say Moapa Valley portion of Clark County, rather than track all those units that would be a part of Moapa Valley to avoid confusion.
Okay, any questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. We're gonna hold on to this one too, or?
I guess in my opinion, it might make sense to pass the seasons, because if we don't pass the seasons, then there's no immediate, there's not as immediate a need to change the application process.
Yeah.
So my hope might be that a commissioner who attended the Clark Cab maybe take a stab at the motion, since that would help in incorporating those suggested changes.
Unfortunately, that commissioner missed this part of the cab meeting, so unfortunately, I don't have the details.
So then I guess the question would go to Mr. Reese. Could you just reiterate for us the changes you guys had recommended?
Before he gets up here, Mr. Chair, and maybe we can agree on this, what I have is for the first one, April 4th to April 10th, then April 11th to April 17th, and then I've got March 28th to April 3rd.
I was just rewriting them down. My notes have it down as the opening is the 28th of March for the very first hunt. Okay, so the very first hunt would open on Saturday, March 28th, and it would close on Friday, April 3rd. The second hunt would immediately open the next day. There's no lapse. It would open on April 4th. And let me get my calendar back out. And it would go to that following Friday.
I'm showing April 10th.
Yes. And then it would open up on the 11th. The last season would open up on the 11th and close, I believe, on the 17th.
That's what I'm showing in my notes.
Okay, yes. And then the youth would go a week before, and it would close on April 17th. And that's for year 2015.
So I guess, Sean, my question is, if we go to dates, do we need to amend this next year because you're going to be off by a day, or we got to figure out how to better state this, like the last Saturday in March through the first Sunday in April, first Monday?
First Friday in April. That's how we would write it.
Friday's okay, so you're all right with the lapse?
Second would open on a Saturday, close on a Friday. And then the third one would open on a Saturday, close on a Friday, regardless of what the date number is.
I'm trying to convert it to the... Okay, so would it be... from Moapa Valley would be the last Saturday in March to the first Friday in April? Okay. So that's Friday, that's March 28th to April 3rd. And then, is it correct that it's the second Saturday? Or is it the first?
First Saturday.
First Saturday in April to the... What is April 10th?
Second.
Second Friday? In April. And then April 11th would be a Saturday? And that would be the second? Second Saturday?
To the third Friday.
In April. Okay, I think I got it. So now are we going back and doing the Moapa Valley of Clark County for the junior wild turkey? As part of this, or is that coming back in? That's tabled?
Yeah.
The junior hunt, okay. So we're just talking about, okay, so I'll make a motion to approve CR 1411, the 2014, 2015, 2015, 2016 seasons. Wild turkey, limited entry hunts, which are Elko County, Unit 09 and 1 of Elko County, Unit 101 of Elko County, Units 102 and 065 of Elko County, Units 151 and 152 of Lander County, Mason Valley Wildlife Management Area only of Unit 203, and the Moapa Valley portion of Clark County with the following changes. The first season would be the last Saturday in March to the first Friday in April. The second season would be the first Saturday in April to the second Friday in April. And the third season would be the second Saturday in April to the third Friday in April. And Pershing County and Unit 115, White Pine County, as well as Unit 192 of Douglas County. Or no, we're not doing those? Okay. So the rest as presented by the department.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Macbeth, second by Commissioner Wallace. Any further discussion? You good with the motion, Sean? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous.
Just a procedural item. I don't think Commissioner McNinch's first motion on turkeys included the junior season, so now that we have our dates straight in Southern Nevada, maybe I might suggest we go back and adopt our junior hunts.
Okay, let's go back to the junior hunts. Any public comment on the junior hunts before we bring it back to the commission? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission.
So my understanding is last Saturday in March, Sean, through third Friday in April, to be consistent with what we just did.
Okay, I thought Clark County wanted to open the youth season 1 week before. Okay. So technically, I think that should be the third Saturday. So we would just need to amend when it would close, which would be the third Friday in April.
And the third Saturday in March or the last Saturday in March?
The third Saturday.
So I'll take a stab at this and start by saying I appreciate the department's attempt to get a junior season implemented. I think it's a good move. So my motion would be to adopt the junior wild turkey 2015-2016 general spring hunts 0138 as presented by the department with the following change. Moapa Valley of Clark County would go to the third Saturday in March through the third Friday in April.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Drew, second by Commissioner McNinch. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous.
Okay, we'll move on to the open quota landowner hunts 0135 and 0137. And basically we have 3 of those, one recommended in Unit 1.